Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to this YouTube channel. It's your guy Igor here. Today I'm going to share a story on how I got cheated in Canada by the entire Canadian system as an international student myself. I came to Canada as an international student and I've been publishing a lot of videos. Some of you might have forgotten how I did the immigration and I'm happy it worked out. But I came as an international student and there were so many things that went wrong where I got cheated by the entire system that is there. First of all, I went through a recruiter like many international students do back home. I went to a recruiting agency in Ukraine, right? And only once I'm in Canada over the years, on every stage, when I came to Canada and slowly over the month from semester to years, and finally I know the entire story on how I got screwed up by the entire system. It's 5% of Canadian GDP is education. And some of you don't know that, but this is what was an eye-opener for me, is a Canadian student complaining about her program and how much she is paying for her program. And I was like, how much are you paying? And she gave me a ridiculously low amount. And I was like, this is like 3 times less than what I'm paying. Like, why is it so cheap? And that's when I realized that international students pay 3 times more than Canadian students. You guys, at that time there was no YouTube videos. That's why I started the YouTube channel 5 years ago. When I started it, there was not enough videos to share information about Canada. Now so many YouTubers are out there talking about, and it's great because now you have that information. I didn't know at that time, and I came blindly believing my agent in Ukraine who was working with the college that I got enrolled into. Probably they have a recruitment contract, stuff like that. They didn't tell me about that information. For them, they just wanted to get things done. And I found out that international students are paying 3 times. Now, imagine you're coming from a country where average salary is 10 times less than what it is in Canada. Imagine you're coming from a third world country where you're barely making any money and you have to be rich enough to be able to afford education in Canada. It can be your entire life savings. And you pay 3 times more. But you know, of course, there are benefits to Canadian education. So I was like, okay, but that's not the only way how you get screwed up as an international student in Canada. The second one is student residency. So you would think that the colleges would provide you with the student residency, but on arrival with the student residency, it's like 2-3 times more expensive than you can rent a room somewhere. You know, it's just a rip-off, the entire system. Like they offer you, oh yeah, just a student residency next to the college. You know, you can save so much of money by not booking a student residency. I know some rich students, they stayed their entire period over there in a student residency, and guess what? You know, most people cannot afford staying there the entire period. Student residency is always overpriced. You know, they charge you 3 times more, then they charge you double for the stay, and ridiculous amounts. Guys, at that time when I came to Canada, you're not going to believe it, I was paying $800 for a room to stay in one room. And that was 2012. And then I found out people staying with roommates, $200 for a room, $400 to be alone, and $450 when they cooked them food. And I paid $800. And that was also through the agency. Now, another part, guys, that I didn't realize coming to Canada as international student, you know, it's that the recruiters are actually making commission from you coming to Canada to study for a college. I found it about from my wife. She came as an international student from India. I came from Ukraine. So just guys, corruption that you have in Ukraine, they're fighting it right now. But the corruption that you have there is they don't tell you that they're getting any commission from the college. So what happened to me is I went to that agency and I wanted to go to Saskatchewan, but apparently they didn't have any, you know, recruitment agreements there. I want to go to Saskatchewan because Saskatchewan, you know, if you study there and if you decide to, after studying, to stay in Canada, well, you know, Saskatchewan could be a good option for you to get immigration done for international students, but they convinced me to go to Toronto. They convinced me to go to Centennial College. Maybe they had better commission there. They were like pushing me towards Humber and Centennial. But I was like, okay, but I didn't know that they're getting commission. So they charged me 250 euros for their services. And then Centennial College, where I studied, most likely, I'm pretty confident about it, paid them a recruitment fee for bringing me in from Ukraine. So I got ripped off by the agency as well. And of course, talking to those agencies, you ask questions. And guys, if you want to see some investigations done, check out CBC Marketplace, one of those investigations there. There's so many interesting investigations where they go to India and they talk to those recruiters and things like that. What's the difference in Ukraine between India is, how people look, what people eat, and how people talk. But they have the same kind of corrupt mentality. And well, if you talk to the agency, they'll be like, yeah, of course, it's very easy to find a part-time job, or even on campus. It's very easy to get that kind of job. They might promise you that you are going to be able to make enough money to pay for your second year of tuition, or they're going to buy lots of things. I still don't believe it, because I was born and raised in that country, so I have a huge filter for lies, and I have very difficult time trusting someone because of that, because I'm coming from a country where everyone wants to cheat you. So I filtered it out, and I'm like, yeah, it's good to hear that, but I don't really believe that. Anyways, some people do believe, and they don't have enough money to complete their education, and they come to Canada under pretense where they would be able to make enough money. And then I asked them, is it difficult to stay? They're like, it's easy. Once you graduate, it's so easy. So for those agencies, they don't care if you're going to be able to get your immigration done, if you're able to stay in Canada. They only care for commission, and you get basically robbed, because a lot of times they don't even disclose it. They didn't disclose it to me, and in fact for me, I got robbed 2 times, because they got the commission. I'm sure they got the commission, and they charged me the money. Nice. Like, I didn't even know that. I met my wife, and I said, how much did you pay to your agent? And she's like, in India you don't pay to your agent because they're getting the commission from the college. I was like, I paid. She's like, why did you pay? They're getting the commission from the college. Why are you paying it? They're already making money, so you're paying 3 times more money. You are getting ripped off by the agency. They give you false expectations about Canada, and then you're finally coming to Canada, and you're expecting maybe you'll get a job in campus, maybe you're coming into Canadian culture, you're super excited, they promise you diversity. I was promised I'll be studying in a diverse environment, and when I come to Canada, I'll be able to interact with Canadians, network, maybe I'll be able to get a job. One of the main reasons why international students like myself come to Canada is, number one, after graduation, you're eligible to apply for up to 3-year work permit. That's awesome. And being in a diverse environment, amazing. But in reality, diverse environment, when I came to the college and I looked around, I realized that college where I studied, about 90% of students, maybe 85, maybe 90, from India, South Asians, mostly Indian guys. Like, everyone is Indian. That's so far for diversity, and I found a bunch of looking guys who were from Moscow, like myself. Very few Canadians, almost zero. I would say like close to 1%. And the Romanian people are Chinese, from China. So like 90 or 85% Indian, and 10 to 15% Chinese people, students, and a bunch of Russians. I call Russians, but right now it's like a tiny group of Ukrainians and a bunch of bigger group of Russians. That's about it. No diversity at all, and you end up sticking to your own group. People from India, they start speaking Hindi or Punjabi or Tamil or something from their own languages. They stick to their own Tamil community, Punjabi community, things like their own kind of groups of people, from their parts of India. Chinese people, there's Cantonese and Mandarin, and they also stick to their own communities. And basically not so much for diversity. I would say mostly just Indian guys. That's the entire diversity, and almost no exposure to Canadian students there. And you're paying 3 times more, and everyone is like, yes, I'm in Canada, and then you're looking around. We are all international students. There is only a couple of Canadian students that I met, and most of the Canadian students went for a police training on the same campus. So those were Canadians because they want to join the police force, you know. But anyways, after all of this, you are going to college, getting education, and the professors, you know, it doesn't matter. I don't want to be specific to Centennial. I want to say that this happens on all of the colleges, you know, Bow Valley in Alberta, let's say Centennial in Ontario, whatever, Humber, any college where international students are coming out, you know, you go there and you join, and they tell you, after, you know, they train you, they show you how things are, and they're preparing you, for my case, for a business world, how you'll be successful in this business world once you graduate, how to write resumes, how to network, how to do all of these things. And in reality, once you graduate, you're on your own. You know, absolutely disconnected from reality, what you learn in the college versus when you go to the workforce, you know, then you're like, but I have the college education. And employers, they're like, well, it's not a university, the education. So they don't care. Whatever you studied, you cannot use it now because your college diploma doesn't really mean much at all. That's why I had to get my PMP certification for project management in the future. Even that doesn't matter too much. You know, what matters is who you know, the connections, and the work experience, and they would prefer somebody with work experience and no college education or no high school education. They would prefer somebody like that over a person who is coming out and spent $50,000 for 2 years of studying in Canada. They would prefer that person over somebody who is actually qualified for the job. So in reality, I realized later on that the entire college and the entire education system in Canada is more about a money-making machine. Unless you have a specific education like engineering or like healthcare or something like that, where you have specific IT or something where you have a specific set of skills, it's just money. You can burn it, you know, in the air and throw it. I have some money here. You know, I have some money here that is I've just purchased it for TikTok. It's not real. It's like probes. You know, you can just light it up and burn it, because that's basically it. You know, you come in, you pay 3 times more, you get your education done for one purpose. Is number 1, you get extra points for your immigration. Number 2, up to 3 years work permit. So that's why international students are here, to get your education in order to get Canadian education points for express entry and to get your work experience, to do a couple of things. Number 1, you live very cheap and you save up money so that you can pay for your tuition, make up the best, save up money. You live like a slave, work hard, live in a shared bedroom with 6 other students in the basement. You save up money and you go back home and you repay your parents whatever they spent on you, or you basically work hard for 3 years, get Canadian work experience, to get Canadian job offer where with the work experience now you could be classified as Canadian experience class for express entry and do the same thing what I did, apply through express entry through Canadian experience class if you get invited, or you get nomination for the province. Now you have to work, you graduated, now you have to work by yourself without agents and figure out Canadian immigration system and how you would stay here if you want to immigrate to Canada. So that's kind of the only benefit of Canadian education, I would say, is that you can take it home and, you can wave that paper of, whoa, I graduated from Canada. If it matters to your employers there, maybe it's great. But most people, I would say majority of international students, are coming for a better life. So it does provide you that opportunity and everyone is trying to figure it out. So I want to say, guys, take away from this video quickly, and then I'll tell you what actually happened to me. First of all, don't trust the agents. And secondly, don't trust every Canadian college, because they don't guarantee you anything. You get the education, but they don't guarantee that you're going to get employed. They don't guarantee that you'll be able to get immigration done. They don't guarantee you anything. You just get a paper that might enhance your resume for some job position in the future. If it's a licensed profession, that's better. So Agents, don't trust. Colleges, I would actually recommend watching a documentary by CBC Marketplace on CDI College. You know that I had advertisement popping up on me on Facebook all the time with that college right now. But they did an in-depth research on that college, on how Canadians are getting misled. So watch it and take your own opinions on that, but it's a really interesting documentary to watch. Take everything with a grain of salt. In reality, Canadian education is a huge money-making machine for the government. It is a pathway for immigration. You get your English goes up automatically, so you IELTS, you get higher score, you get Canadian education, extra points, you get Canadian work experience based on the work permit if you are able to secure the job offer that qualifies, and maybe LMIA as well to get your immigration done. So in short, guys, I want to say this: yes, it cost me a lot of money to get immigration done. Yes, I got screwed up by the agents, by the system of Canadian education in general. A lot of money went in, but it did help me immigrate to Canada. It did help me secure permanent residency, because I had Canadian education, Canadian work experience, and the work permit and everything. So it did eventually help me with immigration, and I was able to make back all that money. So all I'm saying is, it's actually good, if your goal is to stay in Canada. But if you're just coming here just to get education, something like that, and you are trying to secure some job offer, I would recommend going to universities. But if you're trying to go for immigration and try to save money, I would recommend going to colleges. Colleges are less value, less likely to get a job. Universities are better, higher qualified institutions, so go for universities if you can afford. If you cannot, go to colleges, and don't rely on the ability to make your money after you're in Canada. I've seen students, working. I've seen some students, some guys from India that were working like almost 2 jobs. But that's the reality, guys. So don't get cheated by Canadian education system, and I wish you all the best. We'll see you in Canada. Hope your immigration and experience is going to be better. See you soon.